Book launch, School Violence in International Contexts, Perspectives from Educational Leaders Without Borders. Dr. Rosemary Papa, editor. This international edited volume is a rare look at cultural, economic, and political forces that contribute to school violence. In light of the devastating events in U.S. schools and the violence towards students and schools worldwide, the war on knowledge development in non-secular education is increasing at an alarming rate. This book offers an international perspective on violence from both K-12 to tertiary levels. Parents, administrators, teachers, support staff, and research scholars, in a desire to understand the contextual issues surrounding violence and its impacts on the field of education. Scholars and practitioners hailing from 6 continents propose historical to futuristic perspectives linking violence towards education and its inhabitants while framing future strategies to alter multinational fear-mongering to the decline of knowledge generation for an informed citizenry. Embedded in each chapter, the ELWB scholars, in sharing their specific experiences and research on school violence, end each chapter with recommendations for consideration in the hope that pieces from their schools may be helpful for those reading this book. The tone of the book is a sharing of research and practices to provide insights for consideration ranging along the political, cultural, and economic spectrum. Our goal in these chapters is to find peace so children can go to school without fear of violence.
Rosemary Papa. This is Dr. Daniel Edens from the University of Central Florida. I'm a co-author with Dr. Danielle Edens, also from the University of Central Florida. We co-wrote Chapter 1, Religion, War, and Terror, Insights and Safety Lessons for Educators. We also co-wrote this with Bashar and Riyadh, and they are anonymous authors, and I think you're going to enjoy this chapter. I'll read a little bit of the abstract. It is far beyond time that we begin looking more closely outside our own borders and examine violence in schools in other countries to more fully understand where we fare in this worldwide tragedy. This chapter begins that long trek by probing into school settings in a war-torn region of Iraq, which deals daily with terrorism. And essentially we hear 2 personal accounts about their feelings, perceptions, and experiences in a war-torn region. And that is from Bashar and Riyadh. Lastly, an informed citizenry is, after all, ideal. Like the section of the text alludes, the war on knowledge development in non-secular education is increasing at an alarming rate. And that is why the very first step to begin to contemplate how to best prevent violence in our schools here in the United States is to more fully comprehend it from diverse lenses and varied perspectives. That's why we have their perspectives. Next will be Dr. Danielle Edens.
K. Bashar, Personal Communication. I was born in the early 80s and raised in Iraq during the Iran-Iraq War. I still remember the aircraft's loud sound flying over our heads as kids during that war. My memory is still very fresh to remember the Desert Storm War. It is very stressful and hard for a child to understand why there is a war. I was old enough to feel extremely concerned for my father to be called to mandatory service, and the fear of losing him the same way I lost 3 uncles of mine during the 2 wars. The years of the 1990s was extremely difficult for all Iraqis because of the economic blockade, Saddam's brutality, and the continuous sense of wars. I was no exception. As part of the hardship as a child, I had to work long hours with my family in the farm just to put some food on the table. However, growing up in a country that always was a war zone did not affect me in a negative way, but enabled me to be strong enough to find my own way in life. I always had a feeling the years of hardship would end one day for some reason. Right before the Operation Iraqi Freedom War, I had a sense that things would be better.